welcome back to my channel. This is my first video on my new camera. I've upgraded my camera to the G7X Mark II and I've loved my G7X. I've used it for years and years, but it was a little bit old, the screen was smashed, and also it was making a weird clicking noise in the background when I was filming, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this one isn't going to do that, because it was a little bit annoying, I know. So today's video is going to be about being vegetarian and eating less meat and my tips if that is something that you are interested in. So it's not going to be me trying to persuade you to be vegetarian. It's not going to be me making a video about why I'm vegetarian and my sort of personal reasons. If you want me to make a video on that, then I will, just let me know. But yeah, this isn't to try and like guilt trip you into being veggie or anything like that. This is for people who genuinely are interested in a bit more about vegetarians and also are interested in potentially eating less meat themselves, or transitioning from eating meat to being a vegetarian. So I'm going to get straight into my tips and my bits of advice, because there's sort of quite a few things to cover. But my first thing that I'm going to say, and the first bit of advice that I would give to anyone who is thinking about going veggie, is it's got to be something that you want to do. It's got to be something that is your personal sort of choice. It needs to be something that you feel is right. It's something that you want to do, something for whatever reason. It needs to be your choice. I'm actually raising my two boys as vegetarian. They're 4 and 2. Both me and my husband are vegetarian, so for me it would make no sense whatsoever to purposely go out and buy sausages or chicken, or when we just don't eat it. It's not part of our lifestyle. When they get to whatever age, there's an age that they can decide for themselves, then yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's their decision. I'm not going to force that on them. But in our being their parents, and the fact that we don't eat meat and it's not part of, like I said, our lifestyle, we are raising them, but it will be their choice when they get old enough. So that's my first bit of advice, is it's got to be for you. The next thing I would say is that going vegetarian, I've been vegetarian for a really long time. Basically, when I started to understand what I was eating, I started to dislike meat and I started to stop eating it. This was when I lived at home, and my family are big meat eaters. They eat meat every single day. They don't really eat pastas and things like that. So it was a big kind of thing for me to change back then, because vegetarian wasn't as big then as it is now, and things weren't as labelled as much. So it was a big thing for me at the time. Currently there are like 2 to 3% of people living in the UK are either vegetarian or vegan, which I think when I looked it up is like 1.2 million. So it's like a lot more recognised now. So when I go out to restaurants, I go out to the supermarket, I go out to cafes, there is always something or some things that are vegetarian, and it's really become easier to eat as a vegetarian. I think less so for vegans, but again, I feel like particularly this year, I feel like veganism is becoming bigger and bigger. It's currently actually something that I'm looking into myself, but yeah, I feel like with being a vegetarian, it's a lot easier nowadays than it perhaps was before. So talking about eating out as a vegetarian, generally there will be veggie options on a menu in most restaurants. Even if it's 1 or 2, there's usually more than 1 or 2, and you will get to know different restaurants and which ones are better in terms of variety for vegetarians. But if you're unsure, always look for the V, which is next to the name of the different meals on the menu. That will tell you which ones are vegetarian. If you're still unsure, then ask a member of staff, because pretty much everywhere I've been, people are so accommodating and welcoming to different diets. And if you don't see any vegetarian options straight away on a menu, then do ask the waiter or waitress if they have a vegetarian menu elsewhere, because sometimes they might not just put it out. There are absolutely loads of restaurants that are really accommodating to vegetarians. It's rare in my experience to find one that doesn't have good vegetarian options, so eating out shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. Places like Thai restaurants and Chinese restaurants, they are pretty good at labelling things, but sometimes they will use fish stock in their recipes, so either just ask about it or make sure that it's definitely got a V next to it. With Italians, look out for Parmesan. I know when I go to my favourite Italian, they come around and say, do you want any Parmesan cheese on that? And Parmesan isn't vegetarian. Also things like desserts, you need to check those are vegetarian, and also like stocks and things that they use like that. I also thought I should touch quickly on the difference between vegans, vegetarians and pescatarians. So vegans eat no fish, no meat and no dairy. Vegetarians like myself eat no fish and no meat, but we eat dairy. And then pescatarians eat dairy and fish but not meat. There are some people that do get confused between those, and I think it's easy to get confused. I know that when I tell people I'm vegetarian, a lot of people do ask me if I eat fish, but yeah, that's the difference between them. So in terms of being a vegetarian and how healthy it is for us and how we can survive without meat, it's a bit of a myth that we can't survive without meat and that we need it to be strong and healthy. I'm not quite sure where it completely comes from, but I have been a vegetarian for like the majority of my life. My boys are vegetarian, my husband's vegetarian. We are all healthy and fine and yeah, doing well. So things like iron and protein are the things that you need to obviously look out for the most, but it's amazing actually how much iron and protein you probably eat from elsewhere. So places that you can get iron from include cereals and breads and beans and lentils and obviously your green leafy veg. And one way to make sure that your body absorbs as much iron as possible from those things is to have some vitamin C with it. So a big glass of orange juice with whatever you are eating that contains a lot of iron will help make sure that your body absorbs it. And then protein wise, things like eggs have lots of protein in, tofu, corn, and I'm going to get onto corn in a moment. And then you've got beans and peas and lentils as well, and I'm sure there are lots of other things, but I've personally never found iron and protein to be an issue at all. Again, like I said, it's amazing how much you sort of get from everyday items. So another thing to be aware of when you are vegetarian, and this is something that caught me out in the early days, is hidden ingredients. So you stop eating meat and you stop eating fish, but there are still some things that will surprise you that actually aren't suitable for vegetarians and contain either rennet or gelatin. Things to look out for are cheeses, and there's certain types of cheeses. Most cheeses are absolutely fine, but it's always advisable to check whatever you're eating if it contains any sort of cheese. So Parmesan cheese isn't vegetarian. Grana Padano, I never say that right, isn't vegetarian, and also Gorgonzola isn't vegetarian, and some other cheeses will need to be checked. Most mature cheddar that you find pretty much in loads of things is vegetarian, but yeah, rennet is something to look out for. The other thing to look out for is gelatin, and gelatin is found in a lot of sweets. Now I have a sweet tooth myself, and in the beginning I didn't quite realise that, and I carried on eating sweets until I found out. Now there are still a lot of sweets that you can have that are suitable for veggies, but it's a lot of jelly sweets and things like that. But there's good alternatives in terms of in M&S they have like the veggie Percy pigs, and they have like these snakes that are really nice sweets, and they are veggie. They come in a green pack. And things like Skittles are vegetarian. I think Starburst are. Maybe not Starburst, I need to check, but I believe Chewits are. Love Hearts, there's loads, but if you look it up on the internet you'll be able to find out pretty much instantly. Things like Haribo, you know, the blue pack of Haribo are, you need to avoid those if you want to go vegetarian, because they are not suitable for vegetarians. The giant straws, Haribo giant straws are, and they're very delicious, so that kind of makes up for it a little bit. So you also need to look out for gelatin in some desserts as well, things like mousses and certain yogurts. My next piece of advice is to get yourself some recipe books, and the one I'm going to recommend is this one. I've shown it before. It's called The Corn Kitchen. I have had this, as you can tell, for ages. I've had it for years and years, and we have made so many of the recipes out of here. Basically, if you've never tried corn, it is a meat substitute, it's a meat alternative. So we eat a lot of corn in our house, the boys eat a lot of corn, and to be honest with you, it just makes our life so much easier. So if you were going to have, say, sausages, I would have corn sausages or meat-free sausages, because we shop at Tesco a lot, and Tesco do a meat-free range of like sausages and different things. So we would either buy the corn ones or the meat-free ones and have that as our sausage. And the same thing with burgers and mince and corn, what I say, chicken pieces, meat-free chicken pieces. You can want to put in curries and things like that. In fajitas, you can get fajita strips, corn fajita strips, they're lovely. I think they're vegan as well. Pretty much anything you can think of, generally you can find in a meat-free alternative. So we have pies still, we have roast still, we have steak pieces and corn chicken nuggets, and all this you can buy sort of in the chilled or freezer section in the supermarket or online if you do your shopping online. And yeah, some of those things you can use to make recipes. So if you fancied having lasagna and you wanted a meat-free lasagna, then I can't recommend this one enough. It's made using the corn mince and just different ingredients that are all vegetarian, and it's pretty simple to make. And yeah, there's just so many ideas. That's really nice. The sweet potato curry, and actually it says in here obviously because it's a corn book to use the corn chicken pieces. We use the meat-free Tesco chicken pieces and they are really good. They're a bit more chewier, so I recommend those if you are looking to get some meat-free chicken pieces. And then there's like sausage casseroles and pies and cottage pies, lots of the same sort of foods that you might eat as a meat eater, just in the meat-free version. So this is a good purchase. Hopefully it's still available. Like I said, I bought it quite a few years ago, but if you can get your hands on this, then I recommend it. I also have this recipe book, which I knew that was going to happen. I also have this recipe book from the BBC Good Food, and it's called Veggie Dishes. It's a little one like this, and it's got some really good ideas in. So I like the baked asparagus risotto. That's one of my favourites to make. So there's that one as well. If you are raising your baby or child as vegetarian, then I can recommend this book. It's Baby and Child Vegetarian Recipes. It's got over 150 healthy and delicious dishes for your young family. So that's that one. I got this on Amazon or eBay, I believe. So my last couple of tips, I really could go on, but I feel like this video is getting quite long, so I'm going to round it out. My last couple of tips is to check everything. Most things are labelled, but a random packet of crisps here just to show you. So these are beef and onion crisps. Maybe you would assume that they're not vegetarian, but they in fact are. I don't know how well you can see it because I'm sitting in front of a window, but they are vegetarian. So just check everything. Most things are labelled. I rarely come across something that isn't, and if I do, then I just do a quick Google search, just put in the name of the product and I put is it vegetarian or vegetarian next to it, and it will pretty much instantly tell you. Vegetarian has become so much more popular, so it has become a lot easier to sort of transition now. I hope this has been helpful. I know that vegetarianism isn't for everyone, but yeah, I've had a lot of interest since I started putting up some veggie grocery hauls, our weekly shop. So I just thought I would do this in case anyone is looking for some advice. If there is anything I haven't mentioned, if you've got any questions at all, leave me a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to answer anything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will speak to you again next time. Bye!